When the Galaxy S22 was announced, many were cautious since its battery capacity was smaller. The overall specs was also rather complicated since it's detached from the Galaxy S22 Plus and of course the Galaxy S22 Ultra. For me personally, I want to leave all of those specs and comparisons aside and only focus on the Galaxy S22 alone. I don't even get to test out the Galaxy S21 from last year, so I'm literally going into this phone blind. And throughout my week with the Galaxy S22, I found out a lot of interesting points about this phone. So let me share my experience with you. So let's start off with the usual design. It's using the same design as the Galaxy S21 series and I still think it's a very nice design overall. It has a matte finish and also that distinctive camera cutout, and yet it is now available in multiple different colors. What I did realize though is that this green color on the Galaxy S22 is much darker than what I remembered when I saw the Galaxy S22 Ultra during the briefing. So that might be due to the lighting condition, but yeah, it appears a lot darker now. This Galaxy S22 is also tiny, but not in the ways that I expected. So you see, this phone is what I'll describe to be stubby since it is short and rather wide at the same time. But that is also because I've been using the Galaxy Z Fold 3 for the past 6 months or so my perspective might be a little bit warped. Either way, combined with its sharp edges, it does dig into the palm of my hand a little bit, but that's not really a big deal. What is a big deal though is the sharpness of the camera bump where the ends meet. As you can see here, yeah, these corners here are very sharp, and if I place the phone on the table and drag it across the table at a certain angle, I'm pretty sure this wooden table will get scratched. But the cameras themselves within the Galaxy S22 were also tweaked. We still have a total of 3 different cameras and they all take fantastic photos. Again, this is one of those phones that I don't have to worry when it comes to snapping a picture. And of course, the Galaxy S22 doesn't have laser autofocus, so the focusing time isn't the fastest or the most accurate, but it works most of the time. Taking ultra-wide shots like this scenery shot right here is also fine and they do look good. However, the ultra-wide angle camera doesn't have autofocus, which was a surprise to me. Since it doesn't have autofocus, the Galaxy S22 cannot take macro shots using the focus enhancer mode on the ultra variants of their phones. This is not a big deal since I personally also turned off the focus enhancer feature on the Galaxy S21 Ultra because I would much rather prefer just to use the telephoto camera, zoom in and take a shot. And speaking of the telephoto camera, it can take some good shots, even up to 30 times zoom. For night shots, they all do look good as well, so no complaints here. And as a bonus, Samsung also has updated the Expert RAW app to support the Galaxy S22, and that means we can take some fantastic looking pictures with this compact phone right here. But we'll leave that for another topic, and I can assure you a video about Expert RAW is coming soon. I've also tested night mode, and in terms of stability, it's not really the best since it's a lot more jittery and hence creating even more stabilization artifacts. But the video quality in itself is actually pretty good since the noise level is very low. As for the screens, this is also something very interesting because this phone comes with a 6.2-inch Dynamic AMOLED 2X display with up to 120Hz refresh rate and the usual resolution of 2400 by 1080. Everything looks magnificent to my eyes and I'm really happy with this screen. It also has thin bezels all around the screen. And since my eyes couldn't see anything wrong with this screen, I decided to whip out our colorimeter to test it out. What I found here is also very interesting. By default, its maximum manual brightness is up to about 460 nits. The white point isn't the best, but I would consider it to be good enough. And then I headed into the settings menu and found out that the Galaxy S22 also has the option to turn on extra brightness. So once I turn that on, it can reach up to 750 nits of brightness and the white point is also centered. This level of brightness is similar to what we found on the Galaxy S22 Ultra, so review about that at the top right corner there. We also tested the color accuracy both at 100 nits of brightness and also at its absolute maximum of 775 nits of brightness. The color gamut coverage results of both brightnesses were very similar. However, the delta E number did change quite a lot. And when it comes to the performance, this is something that I'm not gonna focus much. It still uses the same Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chipset and it performs well enough with my day-to-day use. I'm not even gonna touch about gaming since this phone right here has a pretty small screen and my hands will take up most of the screen space, and the performance coming out of it is gonna be similar to the S22 Ultra anyway, since these two phones are thermally throttled. However, I did spend a lot of time with the Galaxy S22 as my secondary phone in my pocket, and I usually open a lot of apps at once, and surprisingly that 8 gigs of RAM handled everything just fine. And of course, the battery life is my biggest concern when it comes to the Galaxy S22. And just like what we did with the Galaxy S22 Ultra, we calibrated it to 100 nits of brightness and we ran PC Mark 10 battery life tests, and we got 9.5 hours through that. That is not a bad number for such a small phone. Remember, the Galaxy S22 has its battery capacity shrunk from the Galaxy S21, and to put things in perspective, I managed to make this phone last as long as the Galaxy Z Fold 3, which is my daily driver. And through that, I found out that the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 is indeed more efficient than the Snapdragon 888, but yeah, it just doesn't hit up that much when I'm using it. Still, the efficiency is not as good as the Exynos 2100. As for the charging time though, the Galaxy S22 remains at 25 watts max, and we plugged it into our Ugreen 100 watt GAN charger, and it took about 95 minutes, which is an hour and a half to charge from 15 to 100%. It's definitely not the fastest in terms of fast charging, but I'm okay with it since I charge my devices overnight anyway. As for the software, it's pretty much the same as the Galaxy S22 Ultra, so I won't touch on this that much. As a quick recap, it runs on One UI 4.1 and it comes with Android 12 out of the box. And this phone is also part of the new update policy too. So what Samsung promised for this phone is also 4 generations of Android OS upgrades and 5 years of security patches, which I think is fantastic. And so for the starting price of 3,499 ringgit, I think this is still a fantastic compact phone. Remember, small phones do come with the limitation of space, hence some trade-offs need to be done. I'm definitely not happy with the shrunken battery when compared to the S21, but the overall package, I would still say this is still a fantastic phone. However, if you're seeking for a larger phone, then I might avert your eyes from the Galaxy S22 Plus to the S21 FE instead, because if we look back, that phone comes with a lower price, although it uses a previous generation of chipset, which is the Exynos 2100 here in Malaysia, and I don't really mind because that chipset is much more efficient. And the only trade-off you'll be getting is the not so good camera on the Galaxy S21 FE when compared to the S22 Plus. Still, with such a big price gap, it's up to you whether or not you want to spend that much to get the S22 Plus or the S21 FE. So yeah, that's it. That's all we have to share with you about this phone. Still nice and compact, and if you have any questions, leave them down in the comment section below. We'll see you guys in the next video.